So like Soren said, I'm Nate. Played Division II football down at Texas A&M Kingsville with both these guys. We're all teammates in college. I was a 3-year starter down there from 2010 to 2012. Had some really good seasons, had some really okay seasons, and maybe one bad season. But since 2014, moved up to Dallas, Texas, and then we've been running the company, the Quarterback Ranch. So I guess a year ago I was named general manager of the Quarterback Ranch. So basically what it entails is we train all athletes. You know, obviously the Quarterback Ranch kind of assumes just quarterbacks, but we work with all skill positions, even some linemen, even some athletes from different sports. It's kind of evolved over time, but in the last 3.5 years or so, I've seen all sorts of quarterbacks, young, old, everything in between, big, small, shitty, really good. So basically today what I'm going to do is show you guys and talk you through a typical Quarterback Ranch private session. So, you know, these quarterbacks, they get these individualized sessions working on skills that are necessary to improve their game wherever they're at, whatever level they're playing. This kid in particular, probably one of our most talented young quarterbacks. He's 14 years old. He already has Division I scholarship offers. Hasn't even played a high school game yet, but probably one of the most talented throwers we have, just naturally throwing the football. So a big thing for him, and something we really focus on with him, is his footwork, his lower half footwork. Basically, there's no two quarterbacks the same. You know, there's all, like I said, different shapes, sizes, ability levels. So I'm not one of those coaches that really pounds the fundamentals of throwing a football. I think that you're allowed to have freedom in how you deliver a football. I think if there was one way to throw a football, Phillip Rivers wouldn't be as good as he is in the NFL, you know. So you got to allow these kids and these athletes to have freedom. If they can throw it, they can throw it naturally. If they can't, I mean, there's some guys that just aren't throwers. You can't make those guys quarterbacks. As much as their dad might want them to be a quarterback, as much as they might want to, there's really just no chance that you can take a kid that doesn't have the skill set and turn them into a quarterback. So you kind of got to identify that early. A big part of my job working with these kids is identifying those strengths and weaknesses as soon as possible and giving them honest evaluations. Sometimes that could be difficult when you're dealing with a kid who's really eager to play the position, and we can work with them, but it's our job is to give them an honest evaluation and let them know where they stand and how to improve from that point on. So identifying their strengths and weaknesses, and then working their ass off until those weaknesses turn into strengths. You know, and it takes time. We say this all the time back home, that we don't have a secret sauce that's gonna make a kid a quarterback or make a quarterback successful. It's really about just busting your ass and having hard work, you know, and dedication. There's really no substitute for it. So that's something that we really preach. The kids that come on a weekly basis, you know, train 2 times a week with us, those are the kids that are improving a lot quicker. The kids that want to show up when it's convenient for them, maybe once a month, maybe a couple times in the summer, maybe for the big camps just to show off, their improvement isn't as drastic. So all you guys know that, y'all know the sport pretty well, and there's no substitute for hard work. So like I said, there's no magic in what we do. It's just dedicating ourselves to the craft, giving as much information as we can to these young guys, and allowing them to kind of run with it. So like I said, I'm going to walk you through and talk about the coaching points of a private quarterback session. With this kid in particular, it's his footwork that we need to work on. You'll just kind of see, for a 14-year-old kid, I mean, he's already 6 foot 3 inches. I don't know what that would convert to. What's that?
1,90.
Yeah.
1 meter 90 centimeters.
Yeah, so he's a big kid, about 180 pounds.
85 kilos.
Yeah. So he's obviously got some God-given size, strength, ability. So you'll notice throughout this lesson, it's probably about an hour-long session we do with him. Most of the time we go hour and a half, depending on the kid. A big focus with him is his footwork. So with that being said, we always start him out with a dynamic warm-up. You'll see some of it. Joe will be handling the warm-up tomorrow. We always got to get them going. We've got to get that blood flowing. We don't want them just jumping into drills without having a sweat on. So this first part is a little bit of the dynamic warm-up, and you can roll with it, Chandler. First one is side skips. Very simple, kind of just get the tension out. We want to get it all the way up with his hands, all the way down crossing, just getting the shoulders loose, getting the feet activated. We just go from sideline to hash. Pause it real quick, Chandler. Then we get right into our lunge sequence. So, tough pause, but we go through our lunges. So we get to about the top of the numbers before we jog it out. Really working on a good knee drive at the top of the lunge. We're working on our hand positioning. We want opposite arm, opposite leg like we're running. We don't want to run in like puppets. We always want to engage our core, so make sure his core is stable, make sure his chest and shoulders are up and back. We call that just being proud, having a proud chest as he's working. And obviously getting out, striding out. He's still young, so you'll notice in some of these lunge sequences, his core is not quite developed. It's not where it needs to be yet. So you can see he starts to struggle on some of these steps, but you can roll it a little bit, Chandler. So he lunges out, reaching all the way to the top. We want a little bit better knee drive. Chest isn't bad there. He could keep the shoulders back. Then he's just jogging it out once he gets halfway. Trying to get some of that tension loosened up. Then he'll bring it right back. Now we've got back lunges. This is where the core really has to be involved. You can see he's already starting to wobble just a little bit. I'm trying to help keep his chest up. Trying to get him low, make sure that knee's not hitting the ground. Start to develop some of that strength. I mean, once again, he's young, he still has to develop the core. You can see right there, struggles a little bit with it, then jogs it out. Big ass kid though. Now we got side lunges. Pause it real quick, Chandler. This is what we don't want. On these side lunges, or we call them crab walks, we want to, everything we do at the quarterback position, out at the camp tomorrow, we say it a million times, is keep a wide base. You're just not a great athlete. In any sport, any position you play, that's not the base you want. So we want to make sure as they're doing these lunges, even when he's on that end step, we'd like for those feet to still be at least shoulder width apart. So we tell them, imagine you're riding a horse. Obviously we're from Texas, so we ride horses some. But we want to make sure that our feet are not getting that narrow. Young kids especially, legs get tired after the lunge sequence. They start getting a little bit lazy. You start getting a little bit of that. So we're always trying to pound that and make sure that that's not happening. So let it roll. This is a tough one because now they're going all the way to the hash and sitting low in that lunge position. He can get obviously lower than that. That's just not very good. He needs to stay wide as he's coming inside. So after that we get right into monster walks is what we call them. Kind of helps relieve the tension after those lunges. Want to keep those legs as straight as possible, taking the toes to the hands. Start getting some of the hip flexibility going. Once again, this is all just part of the dynamic warm-up. Now monster skips. Just nice and easy. Then we get right into our high knee karaoke. Everybody does this. Got to have good knee drive above the hips, and then bringing it right back. Knee drive above. We'd like for those hands to kind of stay a little more compact. Elbows in a little bit more like he's running. A little bit too much of the twisting. Then we go A skips. Once again, we want knee drive above the hips, and the B skips could be better. We want a better foot strike. Working on really clawing the ground with the balls of his feet. Pause it, Chandler. So those were the basic dynamic warm-up exercises. They're the same ones we did in college, and I didn't come up with those. Those were the exact same exercises we did every day in practice, or prior to practice, and even prior to games. So once we finish those stretches, we get right into like a shuttle sequence. Now he should should be sweating by now. He should have good blood flow. He should be ready to rock. So now we're really starting to work on changing direction. And all this is just to get him going for the session. So that initial one, we got him in a side shuffle. He's shuffling to his left. On my command, he needs to stick a foot in the ground, and I think he's side running back to the hash. So it's a side shuffle. When I get him to change direction, he needs to plant a foot and side run, which not just turning and running, still staying square to me, but running back through the hash. And he does this both ways. Roll it, Chandler. Side run. Same thing other way. And all this is really helping the hips. Obviously a lot of quarterbacking has to do with firing the hips through That's where he gets his velocity. Now we got to back pedal into a run. Just let him catch the ball. They don't get to do it much. Getting those hips turned around. So that should be the end of the dynamic warm-up. By this point, he's got a good sweat on. Pause it, Chandler. He's ready to go. A typical session, that's 10 minutes max, depending on the kid. I mean, he's in pretty good shape. This is right before the season. So there's a little bit difference between an off-season training session and an in-season training session. Obviously, we're not going to break their ass off in season when he's got a game in a few days. So it's more about staying polished, working on some of the fundamentals. So we kind of extend what we call the throwing progression in season, just to make sure that they're staying sharp. So then we get right into what we call quarterback paddles. We want 90-degree angle on both sides. He's a little bit, not a great angle there. And now we already start working on the posture. Like I said, we want a proud chest, big chest, elbows out, and all this is warming up the rotator cuffs before we ever throw a ball. We'll do these tomorrow with the quarterbacks. I think it's important, especially if you're in a cold weather environment. I mean, so many kids, young kids, want to pick up a ball and just start chunking it without properly warming up the shoulders. So we do 3 different sequences of this, but we're just paddling back and forth about 10 reps apiece. After about 5 to 10, you can start feeling it warming up in the rotator cuff. So you can roll it, Chandler. Want him to stay level. I'm already telling him keep his chest up, keep that head up. Already starting to work on just having good posture. Now we turn the hands out. We call that wiping the windows. So just a little bit different mechanics to it. You know, a little bit different muscles are being worked as they go through those paddles. We really want. I'm doing a little bit better job than him. He's got some tension built up, but you want to be as level as possible with those shoulders. Obviously, not great, but young kids. Roll it. Now we get right into arm circles, still just warming up the shoulders before we ever throw a ball. Small, medium circles, big circles. We're just changing on my command. We're obviously about 10 yards apart before we start throwing, but we'll do all our throwing progressions down the line, and I'll explain why here in a minute. So now we get through that. I mean, he's probably burning. You can stop it. By that time, your shoulders are pretty much on fire. You're ready to throw. Now we get right into the first throwing progression. I'll tell you when we stop it, but our throwing progression, we start very structured. We call it 90-90. Roll it just a bit, Chandler. And I'm explaining it to him right here. You want a 90-degree angle. 90-degree angle. I'm talking to him particularly about his finish, about how we want to keep that left hand compact, but pause it. That's the position we want to be in on these throws. So we're not starting just chunking the ball. We're starting in a real structured position, 90, 90, and now as you can see, hands are about on the same plane. You don't want one hand down here, one hand up here, or vice versa. You want to keep everything on the same plane. As you can see daylight between my palm and the football. You want to grip the ball with your fingertips. Make sure you're all right. Make sure you're not palming the football and creating friction.
Question it.
What's up?
Why should he keep his hand like that?
So really it's just about, and also it's a good point because same reason we use a line. It's about creating compact energy. And as you know, a pocket gets pretty tight sometimes, right? So you got to be able to create as much force and energy in a small space and in a direct line. A lot of quarterbacks, especially young guys, and I was one of them, when I was his age or even younger, we were taught rip through, pull the elbow down, pull the shoulder with you, but it's getting so advanced that you want everything working in a straight line. So as soon as you start what we call spinning out, as soon as you start pulling that elbow through, finishing here, you're going to notice the accuracy goes down. And you'll start pulling that ball with you because now you're just like a pitcher in baseball, you start yanking everything down and away. And you can even see, and he does it. He's a baseball player naturally. He spins out, and a lot of his balls miss, low and to the left. It's tough for young kids because that's where they're getting their power from. Like that's where they get their velocity from. So you really got to do a good job of pounding the fundamentals, and then it's all lower half and core strength. Kids they think throwing a ball of any sort is all about arm strength, when it's really not. It's about how much energy you can get from the ground up through your core and through the throw. So, and you watch any of the guys. Probably the last 5 years that's really become a big coaching point. But you watch Tom Brady, Breeze, those guys. They're really trying to keep that hand tight. And what it does, if you fly this elbow open, now you're almost working in 2 different, or even 3 different sequences throwing the football. You're almost 1, 2, and now your arm's dragging for the 3rd. When really, if you keep it tight, now it could just be one strong, powerful movement. Just one. So now both shoulders are basically firing through that zone at one time rather than yank and pull. It's just one compact movement right to the target. So we'll roll it a few times. We do about 8 to 10 throws of this every time to start. Obviously loading up on that back foot. Pause it. Once again, he's a tall kid. If we can go back just a hair, I'm sorry.
Where he holds the 90.
And he's not bad right there. He does a good job, but then he tends to kind of let it fly. But you'll see how much I load up on the back foot. So you want that weight back, and now you can get all the energy, finish square to the target. Pause it a little bit more. That's just not great, right? We gotta be outside our frame on that base. I mean, at his age, I was taught up here on your tippy toes, right? But you're not gonna get any power here. You gotta get your cleats in the ground. You gotta feel that pressure on your right foot, and you gotta what we call sit in the saddle. You gotta have a much wider base than what he's showing there. But we use that line to make sure our energy is now working in a straight line. A lot of coaches, they'll do 10 yards apart this way, and you never really get a good feel of where you're finishing. So we want to use that line. I mean, you don't really want to look at it, but you want to make sure you're stepping down that line and finishing towards your target. Hands are a little off. Not bad finish there because he's focused on it. You can see as we get going, he starts to pause it real quick gently. Kind of gets, see he's starting to spin out. So now he's blessed, man. This kid has a stronger arm than I do at 14 years old. He's very, very blessed with a whip on his arm. But that energy now is halfway working that way, right? He needs to be having balance but finishing towards his target. What was the point I was going to make? Oh, we challenge these guys. Every throw has to have a purpose. So you get your quarterbacks out there, and I was one of them. You know, you're just throwing, playing catch. You can see what I start doing with them, and we do it with all our quarterbacks. You start giving them spots. You got to have these kids throwing with a purpose. What we call aim small, miss small. You got to aim at a target. You got to try to hit the target, and really, you shouldn't pick up a football and throw it without aiming at something. So you can see I start flashing, and I really challenge him. Still trying to get my reps in. So we start kind of going back and forth, trying to hit our spots. So I get him to show his hands. You can roll it, Chandler. So 90-90, I want him to get his hands up. You got to hit your spots. So 90-90, he misses high, and it's more so a balance in the finish. I mean, you can see it. Go back just a little bit, Chandler. You can see in this finish where we want our quarterbacks finish, strong finish. On this one, these next couple throws, that one just a miss, low elbow. But watch his feet after the finish. They're just kind of all over the place, almost leaning after it. You want to have structure, balanced finish, so now you can have an idea of where you're missing and why. So pause it. Like I said, 8 to 10 throws of 90-90. The first throws we do, now we get what we call square to the target. So we're isolating basically the upper half. Feet should not move. He has one of his first reps, he's leaning into it. So now, facing our target, still using the line, nice wide base. He's a little bit too tall for my liking. You want to sit down and be strong and powerful. And now we're just twisting, using the core, engaging the core, making a throw nice and relaxed, but the feet should never move. You should be able to create enough energy and compact power just right there. Maybe coming up just a little bit on the toes, but you should never fall forward like he does on this first rep. Like the shirt, Swan?
Love it.
That's for you.
And question, why do you grab the ball that you can see daylight?
Just
Not
so,
using the whole hand.
just you don't want to create that friction. So you throw it, what creates a spiral is the fingertips.
That's it.
Yeah, so you want to make sure if you have any pressure at all, it's with those fingertips. Once you start gripping that ball flat,
Yeah.
that's just more surface area that can cause friction on the football. So you start
Okay.
pulling it, start losing the spiral. It's tougher to throw in tough weather. I mean, hell, y'all get tons of rain. You start palming that ball, that's way too much surface area to deal with. So you want to make sure, I mean, quarterback should always be working grip, strengthening exercises. So
Mhm.
just make sure that, and it's not much, but if you can just see it, just a little bit of daylight.
Okay, it's not as much, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not. I mean, you're definitely not
Yes.
here
Yes.
unless you got just giant hands. But you just want to feel that pressure with the fingertips.
Okay.
Roll with it, Chandler. So now we're square to the target. This should really loosen up the core. You want to make sure you twist, get that front shoulder. See that? Get that front shoulder on the target. He's trying to get too much juice on it, and it ends up falling forward. You want to make sure the shoulders are level. Just too stiff right there. His lower half, and you'll see once we get into the drill work. I mean, most of what we do with this kid is just all footwork all the time. The level shoulders, fire it out. Always aiming at shoulders or head. Head shots or shoulders. There's a head shot. Twist, not bad. But I mean, still, it's just not as athletic as you want to be, right? Drew Brees is maybe 5'10" on a good day, and you still see him in the pocket with strong, light base, powerful. So if he can do it at 5'10" in the NFL, kid 6'3" should be able to get down here and get some power. But you got a whip on him. Aiming at spots, good shot. And you're just calculating, man. And I tell these guys, he's going to play it. He's going to probably play at the highest level there is eventually. Pause it real quick, Chandler. But when I was in college, a D2 program, you're competing every single day. And some of these kids don't know. I mean, he's been the best kid on his team since he started playing ball. But we would go out for practice, and I was competing to get the starting job with a kid my age, probably bigger, stronger, faster, just as talented, throwing the football. We would go out for practice, and they'd have the film on us the whole time. Every single throw was written down. So you miss throws in your warm-ups, they wouldn't just, what I'm saying is they wouldn't just count 7-on-7 throws or team throws. They count every single throw of every single practice to determine who's going to play that week. And some of these kids don't understand it, but what I'm saying, when you get those quarterbacks out there, you got to really put an emphasis on every throw matters. Don't just throw the ball to do it. Take it seriously, take every throw to heart, and try to be, like I said, aim small, miss small, try to be perfect on every rep. Go ahead, Chandler. I think there's a few more throws of that. Now we get into our 3-step drop. Pause it. So now, nice and easy. These are obviously not full speed drops. When we teach a 3-step, this is anything 10 yards or deeper. We're obviously, Texas is all out of the shotgun, and all the high schools are spread offenses. So our 3-step drop, we teach one big, getting as much depth and separation as you can from the line of scrimmage. Crossover step is obviously a small step. 3rd step is another small step. So what the term is one big, 2 little. We're hitching up on these. So the main coaching point on these 3-step drops is this is what we don't want. 1, 2, 3, and my hitch up gets back to here. So if we're just taking a picture, we want that hitch up to be more of like a reset. So 1, 2, 3, reset. So now if you take a picture and pause it, my feet are never within my frame. I'm taking that reset, boom, boom, and just resetting that base, making sure I'm strong and powerful in my lower half. He gets a little bit better at it. That's obviously too narrow, but we'll see on this side. Roll it. And now he starts really ripping. Base, ball. 1 big, 2 little, base, ball. That's a better rep. He just gets a little too upright. Base, ball. Balance every time. You should never, and that's why we use the line. If you're going to fall anywhere, you should fall down the line. Almost like we say, imagine his chest, which right now is facing that way. But we want to imagine our chest. If I'm throwing to you, my chest should be a magnet to my target. So if I'm going to go anywhere, that chest is going to work towards my target rather than away from it. He's got a natural high release though, so that's, I mean, a lot of young quarterbacks that get those low releases we got to work on. Wish I could throw it right there. Down the line, 1, 2, 3, base, ball. That's a good rep. Okay, pause it. Now, this is, like I said, this is an in-season training session. So now we're really just pounding the fundamentals. We would probably, in an off-season workout, already be in our drills by now. But now we're working on what we call 2 and a stick. So he's already starting with an extended base. You know, normally you'd probably start right here. We want him to extend the base. We're throwing to the left to start. It's a little easier. And now we're just going 2 sticks. So now it's 1, 2, ball. And now the main coaching point is feeling the pressure on the inside of my right foot. I cross over, that's my second step. 3, balls coming out. And you want to imagine getting all those cleats in the ground and having a spring load, I say spring loaded on the back foot. As soon as that back foot hits the ground, boom, it's got to drive right through the target. There shouldn't be any wasted time.
Where you want that last step? Like the one you push off for the throw? You want that like away from the throw or into the throw?
That's a
or
good
just
point.
like on the line?
So it all kind of depends. We're throwing to the left.
Let's say you throw a hitch rod, like
Yeah.
a long hitch rod, whatever.
Yeah, so we want it, if I'm down the line, by the time I throw it, I'm going to be on the opposite side of the line. So say his last step should be what I say, just put it under your armpit. So it's to put it under your armpit. If the armpit and your shoulders are facing this way, it's naturally going to turn with you. What we preach all the time, we call it an ankle eye. So inside of your right ankle, imagine that's an eyeball. Wherever you're throwing the ball, that has to see where it's going. So now I'm throwing the swing on the right. 1, 2, I got to turn that ankle eye. It's always tougher to the right because you got further to
This
turn.
is because some people coach it with a punch step, where you like actually step towards.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything.
and you're almost. I don't really like it because I don't feel like you get the power. I feel like you gain momentum doing that, but you lose power because now that's not a powerful place to be. I'd rather get there. You know, any sport I
I'm
play.
saying like all the way to the back, so like on this side of the line.
Yeah.
So I would, yeah, you don't like that.
Well, I don't mind stepping on the other side of the line because that's how we're going to get turned. To the left.
No,
people
but
to
I'm
the
saying
right.
on the other side.
Yeah, so almost.
Yeah.
They're climbing towards it, like kind of drifting towards your throw.
Yeah.
And I don't mind it. I think quarterbacks, once they start doing that though, they get in the habit of it, and now everything starts, say I'm throwing an out route, 10-yard out to the right, everything starts turning into that.
Yeah.
And as you know, a tackle's job is that, or a left tackle's job is that. So you start doing that, and now you're losing your own space. The safest, I tell these quarterbacks, the safest spot is behind the ass of the center. So as much as we can, we want to stay on that spot and just move real subtly around that one point. So some coaches teach it different. I mean, in college, that's what we did. We throw the 10-yard out, boom, boom, and start climbing to it. But technically, I'm not a huge fan of that.
Me neither. I'm just
Yeah.
asking what you.
Yeah.
Just,
And that's a good question because, I mean, I think it's like a snowball effect. You get away with it, and now it creeps up, your tackle loses his block, and you're getting hit in the face by your own guy. Roll it, Chandler. So he's extending, 2, 3. Always one needs to get on the outside shoulder. So extending, 2, 3, outside shoulder. You should be a little bit wider in that stance. Once again, these are still part of the throwing progression. So these throws are about 60% max. Pause it, go back just a hair. So now we switch from the 2-step stick to the single-step stick or the 1-step. So now we're starting in the second step of our drop. So you're starting here, and now once again we're spring loaded. So I'm throwing to the left, just 1 step, working on transferring that weight from the right foot through the throw. We'll get better shots of it. Oh, this is still the 2. No, here's so 1, balls out. You can roll, we get a few reps of it. Cross, step, ball. Should be more loaded on the backside. Step, drive it. And that step, we call it a small step, but he's still too small in that step. He's almost right there, not powerful. We want to get under that armpit, drive through. And then he does a little bit better to the right, but I have to correct him. So 1 step, balls out. And like I said, this is an in-season session, more technical than it is tough. Obviously want the ball on the outside. I think he's in the 2-step stick, so wide base, 1, 2, and you can see, go back just a little bit, he's stepping almost away from the target. He's on the opposite side, you know, because now by the time he throws it, he's going to end up right behind the center. So that's definitely how we teach it. He's on the other side of the line, but by the time he finishes, he's right behind the center. Base, 2, 3. Obviously, I could say it a million times, he's got to be more athletic in that stance. He's just too damn tall. 2, 3. He's really working on is getting that ankle out. I'd like to see all those cleats in the ground. Now he's in the one-step stick. So he's already turning those shoulders. It's a little bit tougher to the right. To the left, you get more, your shoulders, your ankle is already out there. You know, you're in a shotgun. It's a little more natural. Getting all the way to the right and getting the energy behind it can be tough because you got a longer way to turn. Now you're almost working against yourself, so you got to do a better job on that right leg, getting back through the throw. Roll it. And that's what I'm telling him. He's too narrow in that step. I'm telling him I want that step further back. So now, as you can see, as I step further, naturally I'm getting more pressure on that right foot, on that right leg. More pressure on the right leg, more energy I'm able to create. Back through it, and you can see I had a little bit better bend. Okay, easy. Still part of the throwing progression, we go walk-away throws. He doesn't do a great job here, but on these walk-away throws, the coaching points and the points of emphasis, he's walking away, he's listening for a clap or a ball call. Call it easy way first. Target's over there. I'm walking, clap, flipping, and ripping as fast as I can. The coaching point is step. So we don't want him hearing the clap, popping, and turning and throwing. We want to make sure what we say, running the feet. He's running his feet back to his target. What he doesn't do a great job is he's kind of lazy with his head. So we want to really make sure if my target's back here, I want to lead with my eyes. I want to see what I'm throwing. He kind of does and his eyes are almost at the same path. I want to lead with my eyes on these throws, make sure I'm running my feet. So a couple to the left, and then we go to the right. 1, ball. Nice easy throws, walking down, still using the line as a guide. Flip it, rip it. Still about 60% on the throws. More so lower half. Now that's to the right, so he does a good job there of running the feet. Should be 4 steps, he takes it in 3, he's got long legs, but it should be walk in, ball, 1, 2, 3. The 4th step is what we call the trigger step to start the throw. As fast as you can. We don't want to climb, climb to the easy channel, to the target. So as I'm walking away, my target's over here. I don't want to get here, clap, and climb back. I want to see how much momentum I can create on the spot. Just clap right here. How much energy can I create going back through the throw without actually climbing to the throw? Now we get into a wave drill. I think he does one more. See if he stays on his spot. Pretty good. All right, easy. So now we got a wave drill. This first one is a continuous wave drill. Main coaching point, eyes. You shouldn't have to look down here. Obviously, never looking at a rush. Starts in a 3-step drop. And then whichever way I'm pointing him, easy drill, you see it all the time, he's continuously moving in that direction. So I bring him to me, he's shuffling. I point back, he's back in this drop. This way he's sprinting. Obviously what he wants to maintain is what we call his platform. He's not throwing it on the run, so anytime I call for the ball, he has a couple bad reps of it. He needs to be able to have that platform, have his feet in the ground, as quick as possible getting it out. It's just working on some subtle pocket movement. Let it roll. So 3, shuffling up, back, side, side, shuffle, balls out. Both his shoulders off the target, ball starts to down in just a little bit. We tell quarterbacks, you got to have an imagination. As he's doing this drill, obviously it's just me out there right now. He's got to have an imagination of what he's seeing. Imagine a cover 2 safety. Imagine linebackers in the window. Imagine you're getting a rush. So that's always a challenge when you're training these quarterbacks is we don't have the luxury of lining up defenders every single time. You know, it works in our group sessions, but in a one-on-one session, you really got to encourage these guys to have an imagination. So I think there's another continuous one. Back, keeping the base pretty good. Right here, he screws up. So what we say, don't anticipate. He has to trust his reaction. So he starts thinking I'm calling for the ball, starts anticipating that ball call. He should just move his ass, work, trust his reaction. When that ball comes, drive it out. A little bit too far out in front. You roll it. You fire it. I think it's just a one step. Okay, reload this one, Chandler. So, first one was what we call a continuous wave drill. Now we go to a one-step wave drill, where we always want to step with our back foot. So it's a three-step drop, whichever way I point. Obviously, back and forward is just one step. One step. Side to side, we want to step with our back foot. And how we coach it is, and kind of how we explain it is, if I was to step with my left foot, my front foot, this is downfield, and I want to throw to the left, I avoid a rush or make a subtle pocket movement with my left foot. I can't throw like that, right? Not very well, at least. So I want to make sure, and now so I have to take 2 more steps. I'm here, I need to get the ball out, I have to take 2 more steps to be able to throw. Whereas if you step with your right foot, boom, ball's out. Or stepping back, boom, ball's out. So that's what we're really trying to work here, is just that one step, being able to drive off of it. Just getting that ball out a fraction of a second quicker. Right foot, up, back, ball. Not a bad rep, needs to get more juice on it, but I mean that's a 15-yard throw. Balance every finish. Okay, reload it. You're fine. Once again, his lower half is where he needs to work the most. So we get into what we call Zoid, that's a trapezoid. So we get into the Zoid footwork. And all it is working hot feet, creating rhythm in our lower half, rhythm in the feet, working the footwork to a 5-yard stop. So that ball should be on my outside shoulder. He's throwing it off my command. See it? So hot feet, quick game footwork, ball's out pretty good. And you can see once he starts engaging that lower half, you can just see how the ball comes out better. Not a great one there, but roll it. Same thing the other way. So now we're just going to the right. Obviously tougher getting that ankle eye around to the outside. Flipping it, ripping it, good shot. And this is just a close-up of him. Really focused. As you can see, go back just a hair. He's really focused as he's doing the footwork, ball call. He's really focused on getting that ankle eye out to the target. So that's pretty good of him. Boom, ball. As quick as we can. Okay, stop it. So now we're in split jumps, just a different variation of the Zoid. Imagine a 10-yard dig. So we're in a 5-yard shotgun, 10-yard dig, should throw it right on the hash. We teach him throw it at the eyes or below on these dig routes. You never want to leave a receiver out to dry with the middle. So he's got split jumps into a 3-step drop, throwing the dig route. 1, 2, 3, base, ball. Not bad. 1, 2, 3. Pretty good. Starting to get tired, you can tell. Base. High, that's a no-no. 1, 2, 3. Not bad on the base. Double shoulders, better ball. Pause it. So now we just got 2 feet in, 2 feet out from the side. Throwing the corner route off of it. This is the last dig route. Throwing the corner route, taking a 3-step drop. What I got onto him here, and he doesn't make an adjustment. Corner route, you got to see corner back. Right, so we're telling him it's a man coverage corner. You want it out over the top. He actually misses over the top of this first one. But his eyes, when he starts this drop, need to be on the corner back. So he obviously, you'll see, he doesn't have a great imagination here. He's just kind of staring down the middle of the field, probably at nothing, and just throwing the ball. We want to make sure and really emphasize, have an imagination who you're reading. So 2 in, 2 out, roll it. To a 3-step drop, his eyes are in the middle. But for man coverage, not so bad. Getting it out over the top. Sometimes you gotta make a play. 1, 2, 3. So now we said this is a cover 2 corner, more so trying to drive it to the sideline rather than if it was a man corner, man's playing on my hip, you want it over the top. Cover 2, safety's over the top, you want to drive it more to the sideline. Once again, he's coming out of a 3-step drop.
One thing. Why you always have him pitching up?
Well, you're never going to throw a corner route. If we were throwing an out route,
Yeah.
a timing out, he wouldn't hitch up.
Okay.
But a corner route, because that would be, technically that'd be his second read. If he was to throw it off the stick, it would be, the first read would be like a hitch route on the outside. He would throw that off the stick. But since it's his second read, if his eyes were better, he'd look at the cornerback. He's covered, pitching to the corner route. So it's just more of a timing thing. You're not going to have a receiver getting 20 plus yards downfield and him being able to throw it off the stick. One, two, three, base. Okay, reload it. Boy, top. So now we're getting back down the line. We do this, we do ladder drills at probably almost every session with our guys. He needs them the most. Just easy ladder, simple variation to start. He comes out 2 feet in each hole, comes out into what we call a pocket climb. So he's basically shuffling down the line, maintaining the base. On my command, he's throwing the rock. So once again, he's having to trust his reactions, listen for my commands, and also climb up through the pocket, imagining he's getting some sort of in pressure, whether it be a defensive end, whether it be a blitzing linebacker. He's wanting to climb up through the pocket as he comes out of the ladder. More so working on his structure. We want to have the big chest the whole time. Want to be a little bit more athletic in his lower half. But you can roll it, Chandler. 2 in, pretty good with the chest, pretty good. Ball's out. He's just, now I got somebody catching. Working a little bit of ball security, kind of beating him up a little bit, just getting him used to playing through contact, having a strong upper body. Same thing coming out. Shuffle, my command, ball's out. Pretty good balance in the finish. He's not falling all over the place. Beating him up a little bit, once again, playing through contact. You don't want him to get in the game and that's the first time his arms are getting hit, his chest is getting hit. You want him used to feeling that sort of pressure. I think we go to one step over the top, just different variations with the footwork. He's only putting his right foot in, trying to get those hips going. He's a little bit stiff in his hips. Pause it, we got a few more reps. So these are the last reps in this particular training session. We usually finish with a competition or routes with the receivers. Once again, it's an in-season one, so we go to a 90-degree ladder, up and sideways. He's going to come out to a 3-step and have to avoid some sort of pressure. So the main coaching point here is as he's avoiding that pressure, making sure those eyes are, and he does a good job, making sure those eyes are staying downfield. Obviously, you should never look for the pressure. I think we call it a left foot side stick, so the left foot's the only thing coming in the ladder. When he starts the horizontal part, it's a right foot front stick, just jabbing it in the ladder, and you'll see it as we roll. And he's having to feel where the pressure's coming from without looking at it. 1, 2, 3, reaching up, that's a good job. Reload that rep. He does a really good job taking the ball with him. Some quarterbacks get here, they get in pressure, and their body moves, but the ball's stuck back here. The challenge in this rep is being able to take that ball with you and then resetting as quick as you can to the throw. You don't want to waste a lot of time. Obviously, the longer you take to reset, better chance that DB has. Feeling it, rips up, that's a great job taking the ball, keeping it under the chin. Pretty good base, ball's out pretty quick, not bad. Then we got Icky Shuffle, to 2 in, 2 out, to a full-on escape. I'd like to see more depth and more speed in that escape. As soon as you escape, you got to separate. It's not bad, but he should probably be maybe 2 more yards of depth. He's getting inside pressure. And what we teach is knowing the difference between pressure and danger. This one in particular is danger. He's going to get sacked. He's got to escape the pocket as he does. He needs to climb back and then be able to throw that ball. Looks like an out route coming downhill. I think he kind of gets stuck, still running this way on that throw. Obviously that ball loses juice. He needs to be going towards that target a little bit better. And this next one I tell him, it's not so much danger, this is just pressure. So he's just going to bounce the pocket, reset. I think this might be the last rep of the day. 1, 2, 3, reset, ball's out. You let it roll. So that would be our typical, what we call individual drills. That would be about an hour. We'd spend the last 30 minutes going through the route tree. And you got a marker over there? Is there one still goes on?
Let me check. I have things
So we always want to, I don't have it on film, what we always want to do is end with some sort of competition, some sort of route segment, and we just go through the route tree. So 0, we wouldn't run it first, but a 0, got the fade up the sideline, 1, hitch, 2, slant, 3, speed out, 4, dig, 5, out, 6, curl, 7, comeback, 8, post, 9, corner. So then all we'll do, I mean, whether it's just me out there or we got receivers, we go through it on both sides from every position. Obviously the speed out would a lot of times be the slot, and we're just counting makes and misses. Throwing to the eyes is a make, completion on the chest is a make, anywhere off the body is a miss. They'll have some sort of conditioning, obviously in the off season, some sort of conditioning for misses. But we never want to just end with, we always want them ending in some sort of competition, some sort of finisher is what Joe calls it. Just to test them, test their skills, make sure that what we're doing in the throwing progression and in the drills is converting over to actual real routes and real throws.
How do you do your corner and post routes? So on 15 yards or 10 or...
So in college we would do a 12-yard break. And it really is all determined by the speed of your receivers. I mean, for our middle school guys, they're breaking it at 8. You know, high school, college guys, they're pushing to 12. And it really is determined by the skill level of the DBs. You know, if you try to break an 8-yard post on a legit defensive back, he's going to be all over it. You got to push to where they actually turn those hips to where you can make the break. I mean, and we're not running a corner where it's just 10 and out. You know, we're leaning inside. We're giving them the post cut before breaking towards the corner. And even like our digs, I mean, we run 10-yard digs with our high school guys, but our digs in college were actual post digs. So we'd go 10 yards, make a post cut, 15 yards on the dig just to create more separation. And the challenge for us as a company and as a business, we can't tell them exactly, because we're not their high school coach, you know, so what we call a dig might be different from what their coach is calling a dig or calling where they cut. So we really have to do a good job of building that relationship with the coaches to where we probably have 40 different playbooks that we have to be comfortable in knowing, you know, how they run them. A lot of it, if it's a mixed group of kids, we'll teach the generic stuff of how we ran it. But when we're working with particular teams, we got to know how they run it. And every coach is a little bit different in that aspect. You have any other questions? No? Good to go? Thank you. I appreciate y'all's attention.